Hello aspirants and welcome to this explainer. See, if you are prepping for your set or net exams in English literature, you know exactly how daunting the syllabus can get, right? But today, you can absolutely stop worrying about mugging up those heavy textbooks. I am super thrilled to bring you this ultimate lucid revision cheat sheet. We are going to break down the massive history of English literature into highly focused, bite-sized pieces. Let's make your revision smart, efficient, and honestly, a lot more engaging.
Are you feeling completely overwhelmed by the sheer volume of writers, eras, and texts? Trust me, you are not alone in this. Okay, let's dive into this because we are going to beat that exam stress right now. Instead of getting lost in thousands of pages, I am giving you a highly structured, high-weightage overview of the 10 literature pillars that literally appear in the exam year after year.
So, here's our clear roadmap for today. We'll quickly cover the founders of English literature, then the Romantic era poets, followed by Victorian society and realism, and modern crises and criticism. Finally, we'll wrap up with a quick exam revision matrix. Clubbing the writers chronologically like this is simply the best way to secure those scoring points and understand the actual flow of literary history.
Let's visually map this time travel journey in your mind. See, literature doesn't happen in a vacuum, does it? Each era directly reacts to the previous one. We move from the rigid medieval structures of Chaucer to the grand religious debates of Milton, then to the emotional rebellion of the Romantics, crashing into the harsh reality of the Victorians, and finally shattering into the modern crises. Keep this map in your head. It is your ultimate anchor.
All right, let us look into our first major block, the founders of English literature. These are the early giants who laid the very foundation of the English language.
We begin with Geoffrey Chaucer, universally known as the father of English poetry. For your exam, your key text is obviously the Canterbury Tales. The main thing to remember here is that Chaucer gives us a brilliant, realistic picture of medieval English society. He isn't just writing about kings. He captures the exact social classes of his time perfectly, essentially giving us a medieval cross-section in poetic form through these really rich, entertaining stories told by his diverse pilgrims.
Next up is William Shakespeare, the Bard of Avon. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how perfectly he maps complex human psychology onto his greatest tragedies. For the set and net exams, you absolutely must match the play to its core psychological theme. Hamlet is your text for revenge and crippling indecision. Macbeth is the ultimate study of blind ambition and the guilt that follows. And Othello brilliantly dissects jealousy and betrayal. Keep these core themes on your fingertips. They are guaranteed high-weighted questions. Moving to the 17th century, we meet John Milton. Epic poetry and blank verse are absolutely vital definitions for your revision. Milton used this grand, elevated style for his massive masterpiece, Paradise Lost. This powerful work is based entirely on the biblical fall of Adam and Eve, exploring these huge themes of sin, free will, temptation, and fundamentally human disobedience. So whenever you see Milton on the question paper, immediately think of these grand spiritual debates. Let's move to and see how this builds straight from the grand, strict religious epics of Milton into the beautiful, emotion-driven world of the Romantic period. When we talk about Romanticism, we obviously must start with William Wordsworth. Unlike the previous eras that focused so heavily on society or religion, Wordsworth turned inward. He emphasized imagination, deep human emotions, and he really celebrated common life. I want you to link Wordsworth directly to the beauty of nature and its healing powers. His poem Daffodils is the perfect example of this. And of course, his publication of lyrical ballads wasn't just a book of poems. It essentially kick-started this entire literary movement.
And then we have John Keats, the ultimate poet of beauty. Beauty is truth, truth beauty. This famous line from his Ode on a Grecian Urn is something you must absolutely commit to memory. Keats was deeply, deeply concerned with art, the imagination, and human mortality. He realized that while life is short, art and beauty captured in verse are eternal.
And this brilliantly illustrates the stark thematic shift we take next. We move from the Romantic era with Wordsworth's focus on emotions, imagination, and the peaceful, healing beauty of nature straight into the Victorian era. Suddenly, writers like Charles Dickens are focusing on the dark realities, poverty, child labor, and brutal social injustice. See, comparing the thematic shifts between these two eras is a very common, high-scoring question pattern in the net exam, so mark this well.
Which brings us squarely into our third block, Victorian society and realism. Welcome to the harsh, realistic world of the Victorians, where severe social criticism finally takes center stage.
Operating just on the cusp of this era, we have Jane Austen. Austen is your go-to writer for explorations of middle-class society, the economics of marriage, and crucially, women's position in society at the time. Through brilliant works like Pride and Prejudice and Emma, she completely dissected social manners and class distinction. Do not forget that Elizabeth Bennet from Pride and Prejudice remains one of the most famous and fiercely independent female characters in all of English fiction.
Now, as the Industrial Revolution took hold, Charles Dickens emerged as the conscience of Victorian England. Dickens highlighted the deep, systemic social problems of his time. He wrote so passionately about poverty, child labor, and severe injustice. For the exam, just link him to the soot and smog of London. Remember how Oliver Twist brutally exposed the tragic sufferings of orphans and poor children living in workhouses? His works, including David Copperfield and A Tale of Two Cities, are absolute masterclasses in social realism.
Alongside Dickens, we have Thomas Hardy. But Hardy brings a completely different flavor: tragic realism. Hardy's novels are deeply pessimistic. He portrays this constant, losing conflict between fragile humans and an uncaring, powerful fate. Set against the backdrop of rural life, his works offer really biting social criticism. Tess of the D'Urbervilles is the most vital text here. It portrays the intense, heartbreaking suffering of women trapped by hypocritical societal standards. So, the crucial point is, the strict, rigid Victorian society eventually could not hold together. The World Wars changed absolutely everything, pushing literature into our fourth block: modern crises and criticism.
As we enter the modern era, drama makes a massive comeback with George Bernard Shaw. Shaw was brilliant because he used the stage specifically to criticize society and deep-rooted social inequality. This is a high-yield point for your exam, so remember it well. His masterpiece, Pygmalion, is a sharp look at how language and accents dictate identity and enforce class distinction. It's so iconic that it even inspired the famous musical, My Fair Lady. Also, definitely keep his play Man and Superman on your revision radar.
Finally, we reach the absolute peak of modernism with T.S. Eliot. Eliot's poetry perfectly captures the modern life crisis and the specific, devastating trauma left behind by World War I. His landmark poem, The Wasteland, is the ultimate representation of cultural decay, extreme spiritual emptiness, and the fragmentation of the human mind. When revising Eliot, link him immediately to this fragmented, broken modern world, alongside his other profound work, The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock.
We have journeyed through the centuries. Now I am thrilled to share the final, most crucial part of our explainer. This is exactly what you need to review to do the needful before exam day: our quick exam revision matrix.
I highly urge all you aspirants to take a mental snapshot of this incredibly lucid summary matrix right now. It clubs together everything we've learned today into one powerful cheat sheet. Notice the key associations: Shakespeare with human psychology, Milton with epic poetry, Dickens with Victorian social problems, all the way down to Eliot with modern fragmentation. See if you can memorize the core important point for each of these 10 writers. You are going to be in fantastic shape to tackle a huge portion of your paper.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a provocative thought to ponder during your final revisions. When you look back at this incredible timeline, from Chaucer's Pilgrims to Eliot's Modern Wasteland, does English literature merely record the history of our society, or does it actively shape the way we understand and live in the world today? Keep that critical mindset as you review your texts. Thank you for joining me. Keep your revision structured, and I wish you the absolute best of luck on your SAT and NET exams. Crack it!